afternoon, everyone. We interrupt your usual Thursday evening when you're about to prepare for the weekend because we are here waiting for the official government announcement for the COVID live updates. We were expecting them at 5, but then actually it turned out it was 5:30.
Yeah, I don't know if we should be worried or...
Well, we're going to talk a little. We have 5 minutes before it's coming. I think a lot of people are kind of waiting with bated breath, I imagine, to see what's going to come. Will it be a curfew or what it might be? But this, of course, follows an increase in numbers in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that, guys. If you're watching, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know your thoughts, what you're expecting. So a lot of news in the last few days. Coronavirus cases going up, a lot of testing happening, but also schools are back.
True.
The country's back in motion.
Yeah.
Surely we expected this.
Yes. But it's just that the numbers are increasing, so maybe that's why people are getting a bit scared or something, and everyone is waiting for the news right now. So.
Everyone is waiting,
yeah.
100%. By the way, guys, if you're just joining us for the first time, my name is Casey. I work with Lovin Dubai, and this is Hala from our Smashy team. Do you want to give a little shout out to Smashy?
Hi, I'm Hala from Smashy. Smashy is the tech and business channel for the MENA region, and I'm here to join because we will be joining you for the broadcast live, and I'll be translating for Casey the news right on spot.
Exactly. So what happens is every single week there are media briefings, press briefings related to COVID-19 updates. There's usually one every Tuesday evening, but we heard yesterday that there's a 5 p.m. announcement to let us know what's going on. We know that yesterday 883 new cases were announced, which was the biggest increase since July, and it's just the numbers we did not want to see, and therefore when they announced that an announcement is coming,
yeah, everyone was like...
But at the same time, I think the reason they announced the announcement is coming is because before, sometimes lockdown was just announced and people didn't have that pre-warning. And I think there was a couple of... So I think this is actually the government pre-warning us, letting us know that if something big happens, at least we're kind of prepared a little bit. Whether it's lockdown, which I don't think it's going to be. We're going to call it, place a bet. Or whether it's going to be curfew across the city or across certain areas. There was an update, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago from the government saying if numbers rise, they could put certain areas, restrictions in certain areas.
Yeah. But we've heard a lot in the past period of time. Like we heard even about the wedding we were discussing just now, like the wedding in Abu Dhabi. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
I've heard that there was a wedding that happened in Abu Dhabi, but the police busted them. So, yeah.
So that has been the key focus.
It was in a house, so...
With a lot of people.
Yeah.
So the key focus in the last 2 days, it's so basic. The basic things like wash your hands and also to just avoid social gatherings. Because there was another story I remember of one man who infected 45 people. And he didn't know he had it. And that was just one that came through in the last couple of days. And that was kind of the scary... what can happen if you're asymptomatic and you're carrying the virus. Yeah. So I think these are the stories coming through that we're trying to check out. And like I said, the live broadcast is coming from UAE press from UAE government at 5:30 in 3 minutes. It's in Arabic, so Hala has the very difficult job of translating through her headphone. But we're going to open up our comments. As you know, we love to read what you're thinking right now, what you're hoping for. I'm going to open up Facebook, see what you're saying.
Let's check.
Because I do think this is one of those moments that the country is just sitting and waiting. Because, entry into Abu Dhabi has been closed for 2 months.
True.
Which is hard to fathom. And if you're living in Abu Dhabi and you're sitting waiting, what's next? It's a tricky one. Just have it open.
Let's check.
Hello to Pauline Dawson, by the way, if you're watching. I'm seeing your comments. We had a chat on the phone this morning. She says she watches this show a lot. So like I said, we're just waiting. I think usually the process with these announcements is the numbers come first. So we'll hear the last 24 hours, the new numbers, the total recoveries. Of course, in the last week, we also had a significant increase in recoveries.
Exactly, which was good.
Which is really good.
Yeah.
And it's all down to testing. Like, I think before we get there, before we know what's to come, I think we do need to shout out the UAE government. 7.5 million tests since the pandemic began in a country of 9 point...
Exactly, one of the highest.
9 point something million people. So exactly one of the highest in the world for testing. And I think that this does not get shouted about enough, one of the lowest mortality rates for COVID-19 globally. Mm-hmm. I think we're down at 0.5%. So I think that's fantastic.
That's good news, positive.
It's positive
Let's keep the positivity up. So 1 minute left.
Hala, if you were to venture a guess, Are we allowed to do that? Venture a guess?
I don't know.
I think we are, yeah. We're going to err on the side of positivity and venture a guess as to what might be coming.
If anything would come, hopefully not another lockdown for sure. Maybe curfew starts at 11 p.m. and ends at 6 a.m. Yeah, it's a guess. or I would say, as you said, maybe just certain areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
But yeah, that's what I guess.
I just think people have been working so hard, and I know schools are back and we're back in the office and it looks like we're out and about, but at the same time, in people's personal lives, we're not living the same lives that we used to. And we say we're the new normal, but we're still, maybe you're not going to the gym, maybe you're not seeing as many friends. I met a girl this morning, I was at a very socially distanced business event, and we kind of said, oh, we'll see you soon. And then it was kind of that thing of, we probably won't, because
maybe not,
we're both staying in our own personal friends. So we're not back in our new normal. I think the last thing people want to see right now is full lockdown. But I don't think that's going to come. I really don't. I think the city's back up and running. And
fingers crossed, yeah.
Time will tell. So we're going to flick open the live and you're going to see it here beside us. Like I said, it's in Arabic. So Hala's going to be doing the honours of translating.
No pressure.
But how have you found, so we get every day Lovin Dubai when we post the COVID-19 updates, they come directly from you. How is it? It's been a super
Sorry guys.
It's been a super exciting time reporting, right?
Yeah, it was actually, because for a journalist it would be really, really exciting for people to know the news right immediately and everything like that. So taking a part in that, and I know Lovin Dubai has a great, huge audience. So yeah.
And also Smashy.
Of course.
This is actually the Smashy background that we use.
We're invading the Smashy territory.
So good afternoon, everyone who's watching. Let's have a quick through. And we should say that the government is really clamping down. The authorities are clamping down on what's happening around the city. So someone's mentioning masks. There is a 3,000 dirham fine for not wearing your masks. Also, it's worth mentioning a department store yesterday announced a sale. They said it was a 2-hour sale in different stores across the city and the crowds were massive. And what happened was, because of these large crowds, because there is no social distancing, the authorities have fined that department store 50,000 dirham, and as well as that, the store has been shut down.
Wow.
So that's another thing. Maybe we're probably forecasting the worst, but actually what we might see now is just a stricter clamping down on the rules. Are people wearing masks outside when we see them every day? Are people are I think people are, what's that, rigorous exercising if you're walking on the marina. I think people have relaxed because the city has opened up again.
Yeah.
But I think now maybe there'll be a stricter clamping down.
Well, maybe we need it, honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is actually exactly what Petra said in the office. She was like, this could be a good thing. We're seeing the numbers rise. It's the last thing we want. We don't want to see hospitals getting busy. We don't want to see resources tightened. So actually, a little bit of a firm tap on the wrist. Maybe that's to come. Someone's guessing fillet of fish, maybe. Do love your inputs, guys. I really do.
Shout out to Ankita. She's watching us. So.
Yes. Guys, if you're just joining us, we're waiting for the UAE press government briefing. It's happening at 5:30 today, and we know that it's a bit of a bigger briefing than usual. We usually have them at the same time every week, but they announced in advance that this one is coming.
Exceptional.
This is exceptional. 5 p.m. on a Thursday, and I think this will probably set the tone for how the UAE is navigating COVID within the next couple of weeks. As we know, the city is opened up. Flights are open, tourists are travelling in, schools are open, offices full back. So now that we're back, now that we're living with this new normal, I think now this is going to be also the stepping stone for what's to come.
So I think they're about to start.
Do we have the link open? And how are we getting this link?
They're live on Instagram, Twitter, and different platforms. So yeah, I'm live on, I'm checking their Instagram live right now.
And this is the MOE UAE government?
There are different local channels or national channels that are pushing it live. So for instance, you have UAE Barak, there are different ones.
Okay. So if we have a quick number through, let's say 75,000 tests in the last day, that the numbers of tests have also been going up. And like I said, we've had a rise in recoveries, but also we don't want to see that rise in cases that we have been seeing.
And it became so easy to do the test, to be honest. It's super convenient, super easy. Like my mom just did one yesterday and she gets the message on her phone and everything. So, yeah.
Well, that's one thing that we really need to also shout out the UAE for is the testing, the fact that you can get the results within an hour. I know an issue in Ireland is that it can sometimes take a couple of days and then you're sitting in that limbo period.
Exactly.
And I think it's just been announced that the Abu Dhabi healthcare system have reduced the cost of their coronavirus testing down to 250 dirham.
Oh, wow.
So the PCR testing now available in Abu Dhabi is 250 dirham. And I think that's also going to be the new rollout of more convenient testing, cheaper testing, more common. Like if you're going to a big party, you're going to have to show your, I don't know.
Imagine. Actually, I've seen that in one of the local weddings, they have like, just right before it started or anything, like no entry for anyone to this house unless you do the COVID test and you show that you're negative.
100%. I saw that in Fujairah. There was a wedding. I'm not sure the number of people. I'm sure they stayed within the guidelines of people that were permitted, but everyone that went had to carry the test. And I love that because how can you even go into a large community right now and enjoy yourself if you don't know that everyone around you is safe?
Exactly. You won't feel safe. You won't feel as comfortable as you were like before, just chilling with people or anything.
Exactly.
So,
So moving on, guys, we were waiting for the live to begin. Like I said, they usually start with the numbers, recent in the last day, and then what's to come, laying the roadmap for COVID-19 in the next couple of weeks. And Hala's doing the honours of translating it for us, like I said. Whether or not there'll be, let's say, a quarantine brought in, probably not, I imagine, a lockdown. We're going to err on the side of positivity, and I hope that they're going to move in with something. I just think stricter precautions put in place. Possibly. We'll see. We'll guess. But it's to come.
I think they're about to start.
Okay. So we're waiting with you guys to see what's to come. By the way, I think it's worth shouting out as we're sitting here waiting for, as you get your updates, and the UAE is so strict on this, so we've mentioned a number of weddings that we've heard about. Now, this always comes directly from WAM. It always comes from the government news agencies. It always comes from NCMA, which is the National Crisis Management Authorities, and that is where we get our information.
Yeah.
Like earlier, and I know we're kind of playing a little bit of a guessing game because we're all waiting, but earlier I got a message on WhatsApp with a rumour which was being spread. I did not send it forward. Exactly. I just want to point out.
That's super important.
Yeah, it's super important. You don't spread it because that's actually against the law, but also there's so many rumours spreading on WhatsApp at the moment that make sure, and we're going to get ours directly from the government right now, that make sure that yours come from there too. I would always shout out the Twitter accounts. I'm on NCEMA right now, and NCMA. They're always doing the numbers daily, and then also obviously Dubai Health Authority are always giving you the best tips and tricks, and also even KHDA, the Dubai School Authority. I love their social media game.
Their sense of humor is on point always,
Even through COVID, they managed to kind of bring a bit of positivity, a human element to social media at the moment, which is fantastic. I think that's very hard, and especially they're under so much pressure to make sure they're delivering the information.
Especially now with the learning from it's not easy, honestly, for kids, for parents, for schools, everything. So especially during those times. Because I think parents have been facing such a hard question, which is, do I send my children back to school?
Yes. And when I don't know the answer to something, I look for information. So I'm sure the KHDA have been inundated with information right now, trying to get, parents looking for what's the right thing. Because I think the issue here is no one has the answer.
Yeah.
It's such an unknown for everyone. Trying to find the best process for the schools to reopen. That's what the KHDA have been doing. And actually, we'll shout out, I've been at a school. I was at Gems Wellington Primary School this week to see what they're doing for COVID-19. In my head, I have a teaching background, so I've worked with kindergarten students. It was very hard for me to imagine how you're going to kind of put social distancing in place.
You just started, sorry.
No, it's fine. This is way more interesting than mine. Anyway, Gems Wellington Primary School is doing a fantastic job for social distancing for students, which I thought was incredible when kids are so young. It's very hard to do that. They're in bubbles of 10. Resources are washable. It's amazing. Okay, so do we have the speaker?
930 new cases.
930 new cases today in the last 24 hours.
Yes.
which is the biggest we've seen since
In
July.
4 months, yeah, actually.
4 months.
76,911 total cases now. 82,076 new tests. Sorry, total tests.
Total tests
Yeah.
in the last 24 hours, yeah.
And 586 new recoveries.
Okay. It's nice to see that. It's a good
Yeah.
jump.
And it's over 67K new recoveries.
Total recoveries.
And unfortunately, 5 new deaths. Yeah.
That's a large jump. We haven't seen that number of jumps in 24 hours in some time.
Which is the total of death now is 398 in the country.
So if you're just joining us, that's 930 new cases of COVID-19 announced in 24 hours, and it's the biggest jump in 4 months.
In 1 month, it was over 900 cases in the country, which is 5x approximately in 1 month.
So we're now at 76,911 new cases, or total
In
cases.
10th
in
of
UAE.
August, we were 179 cases.
Mhm. So they're going back over the smaller number of cases we had in August, 179, did you say?
Yeah, sorry?
In August, there was 179
So-
cases
yeah,
in one day, and
exactly.
we've gone up to nearly 1,000. This is why the announcement is coming.
62% of the cases are males.
Now we're getting the gender
Yeah.
breakdown.
Yeah. 12% of the cases are from people coming outside the country, from abroad. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Eighty-eight percent of the cases are because people are getting with each other, going to weddings,
Social gatherings.
no social distancing.
That is a shocking statistic. 88% because of social gatherings.
There, yeah. How important it is to wear a mask, and then the social distancing and everything.
It's kind of been their thing.
So now they're discussing the reasons of and 10% of the cases are related to education, people getting back, like whether it's parents, students, teachers.
Thank you, Rich. Guys, if you're just joining us, 930 cases. This is the biggest jump in the last 4 months. 76,911 total cases in the UAE, and this has been 88% has been a direct result from social gatherings. They've also said that 12% have come from schools reopening, and 12% of people coming from abroad, and the split is 62% males. So this is what we're getting direct from the government right now. We're also expecting an announcement. This is why we're here, relating the news to you, is that we know that there's a bigger announcement coming because this is the biggest rise we've seen.
So they're discussing the reasons of the cases arising. Mainly, it's people are not wearing masks, no social distancing. They continue to gather in the houses, restaurants, families are gathering as well. But it's in big numbers, and there's no social distancing. And this is going like against the rules and everything that the UAE is.
It seems like what they're saying is the main focus is to keep wearing your masks. Social distancing is still extremely important. We know that 10% of cases are related to education. That means parents, students and teachers, which is a number that I'm sure the KHD will be looking at. The causes, the reasons that the numbers are going up, they're saying no social distancing, no masks. People are continuing to gather without maintaining that social distance at restaurants, in houses, with family, and just kind of big numbers. And what they really want us to do is just go back to the basic rules, go back to washing our hands. I remember we've talked about it so many times in the show before, but that 20-second rule of like, are you still doing it? Are we still being as careful as we can be? Are we still all carrying hand sanitizers? Do you have a bottle in your handbag? Do you have a bottle on the way into your home? Do you have a bottle by the door in your home? Do you have a bottle in the bathroom? Everywhere, just everywhere. Have many, many bottles. I remember at the start there was a mass rush to buy them. They were selling out of the shelves, and I just wonder, can we be more careful right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, even they're talking about someone who had the symptoms, full on all symptoms for COVID-19, and yet they did not go to check, and they got other family members, and they got even one death because of that. So
okay. I think that's the scariest thing that we have to think about is asymptomatic people. It's very, very possible. I had a friend who tested positive. She showed no symptoms. She had a small baby at home, and before she tested positive, of course, she was going about her daily day, going to the store, going to the gym, and then she tested positive. So I think this is something we also need to worry about. If you have a cough, if you have any sort of fever, if you're feeling unwell, don't leave the home. So whether or not a big announcement comes, I don't think that's what we actually even need to focus on here. We need to focus on the fact that we're forgetting the rules. We're forgetting that we are living in a new normal. I hate to repeat it, but we actually have to remember that we haven't gone back to reality in any way, shape or form. Our lives have changed. We have to be careful about our socializing. We have to follow the protocols. And I love that the rules here are basic, and what we're trying to do is very basic.
Yeah.
Just wash your hands and avoid social gatherings.
They also are closing public and private schools once they get any cases in those schools for like 14 days.
Okay.
And they are getting so strict with the restaurants that are not checking temperature and not practicing social distancing and letting people to put masks and everything.
Okay. So from that update, it sounds like restaurants are going to be held accountable in a bigger way. We heard about the department store which was shut down, 50k fine because they announced a sale, large crowds gathered, and also that store has already been shut. I think that's a warning to other stores. Check temperatures, have a limit of people. There should be a limit anyway, no more than 30% in your store, and if not, you will be held accountable for it. Schools, both public and private closing if a case is announced. That's just come through as well. I think that's definitely something schools I know from what I've seen, schools are, and teachers I've spoken to, many schools are doing their utmost to maintain that social distance. Very hard for younger kids, and if they don't, schools will be closed for 14 days to make sure that it doesn't spread it further. So the announcements coming through, what we have so far is 930 new cases have been announced. This is the biggest number in 4 months. They've also announced that public and private schools will be shut if a case is found, and they'll be shut for 14 days. Restaurants and I assume stores will be held accountable a lot more, making sure the temperatures are checked.
Yeah, they're saying that we kept on we made so much progress in the past like 6 to 8 months, and it's all because of you guys practicing social distancing, putting on the masks and everything. So it's now on us as well to practice social distancing, put the masks on, and don't go to weddings, gatherings, or anything like that. We have to be fully committed as a society, because honestly, the result is the same for everyone, and we all want it, which is we're done with
Normal life.
Yeah, exactly.
Get rid of this virus.
Yeah.
We're sick to death of it. Long phrase. I think that's something they mentioned at the start of the briefing, was that on the 10th of August there were 179 new cases. That was post-lockdown. We had all worked so hard to get down to that number, and now the fact that in a couple of short weeks it's managed to go back up to lockdown days is just frightening. We don't want to see it go up anymore. 12% of those cases are people coming from abroad. Those are people who had COVID-19 tests. We know how strict travel requirements are. We know how strict it is to get into the UAE, which I'm actually fully supportive of travel opening up. So, and there are measures in place, but still, despite negative COVID-19 tests before travel, obviously the virus can stay in your system for 5 to 10 days, and therefore they tested after they arrived. So any signs of the virus do get checked.
They are thanking all the people who didn't do gathering, who celebrated, especially that we've been through Eid and so many like celebrations before during COVID, but people chose to do small gathering with their just family members, practicing social distancing. So it's important to still go in that direction and that way. And even if you get in contact with someone who was infected, don't rely on your negative test, because sometimes the virus might stay in your body for 14 days. So it's important for you to, yeah.
Very interesting.
Yes. So it's important to stay in quarantine for 14 days.
I think this is a strong word of warning coming from the UAE government, saying, because I think the country has done a huge amount to put COVID-19 regulations in place. But as you can see, we see it ourselves in our gatherings and our social interactions at malls and supermarkets. Sometimes it's just it's not there. So it's up to us as people to make sure that we're doing the most.
Yeah.
It's up to every single individual to try and put it together at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So even if you be with someone who got a positive COVID test or who has COVID, you should do the 14 days quarantine.
Okay. I think that's really interesting, to not rely on your COVID negative test. You still need to do that 14 days quarantine. So we're going to move back into a little bit of personally imposed lockdown, it sounds like, if needed. So the latest up there was that every person who comes into contact with someone infected...
It seems like there's no lockdown.
There's no lockdown. Oh, I'm glad we didn't instill any panic. I think, though, it's nice to have a face reading you through it, so you know what's coming. Guys, this is the latest from the US. So is that finished?
Yeah, it's done. The live is done.
I think, though, we need to be very clear on everything we've just heard. 930 new cases, biggest increase in 4 months. That came from majority, 88% of that was from social gatherings.
Yes, weddings, social gatherings, people, yeah.
And the key here is they want us to go back to basics. So whether it's washing your hands, wear your mask, there's a fine for 3,000 dirham if you're not wearing it, as we already know. Avoid social gatherings at all costs. House parties, not going to happen. Big group parties, not going to happen. Just stick with the basic rules.
Yeah, wash your hands after each use and don't touch your face. And
then they also went on, and this was one thing that probably we wouldn't have guessed, and it's something that I hadn't thought of, from someone who's taken the COVID-19 test and then was negative, so went back into work the next day. But every person that comes in contact with someone infected, don't rely on the negative test.
Yeah. to a
very
quarantine
interesting.
of 14 days, the normal quarantine, because the virus might stay in your body for about 14 days.
Even with the negative test, so that's
Yeah.
something that we definitely need to take note of. People should quarantine for 14 days, even if they get a negative test after coming in contact with someone who has it. So I think we all need to look back. In my in my situation, I want to point it out that when I got my COVID negative test, the person who had tested positive, it turned out was a false positive.
Yeah.
And then they had gotten retested. It was a false positive. But I mean, that's neither here nor there.
So I mean, for now, let's just practice social distancing and not go to gatherings, and put the mask on. And
families, stay with families, don't celebrate with external people. Like I said, 930 new cases, lowest number was 179 in August. Let's just do our best as individuals to get back to that. And those are the latest updates from the UAE COVID government briefing. Guys, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
We'll definitely check your comments after, and any thoughts you have, do let us know.
Stay safe.
Wash your hands. Bye.